So wait a minute, he doesn't want to listen to her, but we're now having to listen to him.
Here we go.
You're teaching. Bye, Donovan. Bye.
You're broke yourself. That's why you have to do this. You're broke. So, anyways, I don't want to acknowledge him. Honestly, he's such a peasant. Such a peasant. I can't.
Okay. You don't get to talk right now. Adam's talking, and he said that.
I can't deal with a peasant. Okay, because you're broke.
Would you tell them?
Because you're broke. He's a peasant. I don't want to talk to a peasant.
Broke people.
No.
Hurt people. Exactly.
Do you remember this guy, Donovan Sharpe? He is the 31, 32-year-old that got taken and fleeced by a 19-year-old.
Yes.
You do remember him?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. The one thing that I've noticed about these Manosphere guys is that if they're not in a controlled atmosphere, meaning that the women have to be controlled on what they can say, their mics can be turned off, the things that they are spouting, these Manosphere guys, the Fresh and Fits, the Rollo Tomasis, the Donovan Sharpes, and here's the thing, honestly, you name it, they cannot say what they want to say, and they cannot express their ideas in a format that's not controlled. Because the women do push back. And the women that do push back in those controlled formats, they either get kicked off or the mics get turned off or they get silenced by somebody else. And the video that popped up in my feed today was Donovan going on his show and basically giving his 2 cents about what happened to him on this show. But basically he was whining. That's all I can say. He was man whining.
I know a lot of you guys are frustrated with Adam because of his appearance of the because of the lack of control a couple of nights ago when your boy was on. I found the entire conversation absolutely pointless based on the fact that Adam Sosnick could not or would not corral the women after they started attacking me.
Attacking him?
Yeah, I guess as a man, and you're supposed to be this, manly man, is that women kind of talking back to you is an attack.
I mean, he was being rude to them.
If you claim to have this type of, control and women, over women, and what women think and women are this type of way, is that then when you actually get into an open conversation with women and like he's saying, Adam didn't control his women, it's like, listen, when are women ever controlled out in public? You go out to the club and you try to do this type of stuff at the club and you just see what happens. I actually came to this realization is that these guys in the Manosphere, the stuff that they're talking about, they really want to be pimps. They don't want women to have a say in the relationship. So they want it to be a one-sided relationship. So basically, as the man, what I say goes, and you can say something, but when I tell you to shut up, you need to shut up. What relationship and what woman do you know that you're going to have a relationship with that's going to take that? And so if you listen to a lot of this Manosphere stuff and a lot of these Manosphere guys, is that they're taking a lot of talking points from pimps. So now that Adam wasn't pimping his female guests, Donovan feels a certain way about it. So Adam wasn't being a good pimp during this process. I guess Donovan's trying to hand down his pimp hand because his pimp hand evidently doesn't work for women that refuse to be pimped.
You better freaking believe I was frustrated. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still a little bit heated. Not at the girls, right? We expect women to get out of pocket when they hear shit that they don't generally want to hear. I'm frustrated with Adam because of the way things went. Number one, and this is the most important thing we have to understand here. Adam Sosnick, he ain't built like us. Man, he's just not. He's not built like us in the RP space.
So what that means to me is that what's really going on in the world behind your computer and in your house. Because here's the thing, a lot of these shows, to be honest with you, these guys don't seem like they get out a lot. Adam isn't built like they are. Adam looks like that he gets out. Adam looks like that he actually has pretty decent relationships with women. All of the guys that I see in the Manosphere look like they don't.
Dude, 95 to 99.9% of men are incapable of giving women raw and honest accounts of what is really going on in the world without pulling punches, or without sugarcoating it, or without making light of it for some sort of comedic effect. To be able to do this, it takes a hell of a lot of time, it takes a lot of experience, and even more patience. You guys also have to remember, Adam's new to this space. He doesn't have the same breadth of experience with women like we do, and that's not a bad thing at all. But let's call a spade a spade.
Now, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to remember that statement that he just made right there. Mm-hmm. He's saying that Adam doesn't have the breadth of experience with women that they do. Mm-hmm. So
he probably maybe has just a little bit more respect for women.
No, I want that too. But I want you to remember that statement because it's going to pop up a little bit later. Adam doesn't have the experience with women that they do. The Manosphere people.
Sosnick ain't built like we are, and it's not even really his fault. Adam is tall, good-looking, and rich. And tall, good-looking, rich guys have a much different experience with women than guys like myself, Fresh Prince CEO, MLD, and all the rest of those guys before we became successful.
Did he just give himself and all of the people he know a low blow?
Yeah. It sounded to me like he said he was short, not good looking, and broke.
So, listen, that just sounds like a low blow to me. Look,
and he named 4 other people in that category.
With him. At least y'all in the same boat.
None of us are as objectively attractive as Sosnick. None of us have had money and clout for as long as he has. So expecting someone of Adam's, let's call it an archetype, to have the same kind of backbone of a Myron Gaines, that's unrealistic, okay? I'll give an example. My friend Josh, I've talked about him before. Tall, good-looking blonde guy. He's basically Thor. He's 6'4", he's got steely blue eyes.
You know, he should be judging guys quite a bit. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, he thinks Adam looks good, and he just named his best friend Josh, who he's saying looks good. He sure judges the way guys look quite a bit. Seems a little sus to me. But I mean, I don't know. It sounds like he's judging guys the way women judge guys. I wish I was him. Wish I could get with him. Maybe in my next life I could be him. You just call them circle jerks.
I didn't realize just how attractive he was until my sister said something about him. It was the first time I'd ever heard her call a man hot.
So after his sister called him hot, did he now say, he's like, you know what?
You're right.
You're right. He is hot. Never knew this gym I had right beside me. For a guy that talks about other guys like that, I mean, for me, that sounds insecure. Listen, I can acknowledge if somebody is nice looking. I don't care what it is. But the thing is that I'm not judging someone based on myself. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm not saying it's like, well, they look this much better than I do, or he has this because of the way he looks. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not judging people like that. That sounds like a self-esteem problem. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he has a self-esteem problem. It sounds like he's had a self-esteem problem, and he's overcompensating with his self-esteem problem with being very ugly to women.
I've known Josh a while. He's always had success with women, quite simply because he's had a lot more opportunities with them. And it started at an early age, guys. We met each other when he was 19 and I was 20. And he was pulling chicks left and right. But they didn't make him work for it. Tall, good-looking dude, blue eyes, blonde hair, etc., etc. Girls didn't make him work nearly as hard as they made me work. I'm 6'2". I'm in decent shape now, and I'll be in much better shape in a few short months.
So, he's 6'2", in pretty decent shape, and he's average looking from the neck up. So shouldn't that put you above most of the men? Because one of the standards that which Kevin Samuels and a lot of people would say is that men above 6 foot tall, and men when you're starting to get into 6'2", having above average
rating.
Yeah, having above average rating with women.
Yeah, but he puts himself as average to below average.
It sounds like a self-esteem problem.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, so you're 6'2", which means you're taller than, 70, 80% of the men in the United States?
Yeah,
it might be
and
more.
uglier than 50%.
He said he's uglier than 50%. And then you're in shape, so you're in decent shape, so which means you're still in the 70, 80 percentile. You see what I'm saying? So could it be something else? Could it be something else that's causing you not to have success with women? Because you're tall, fairly in shape, and you say that you're average looking. So, I mean, I would say that right there is like you're checking off, a lot of boxes for women. Could it be something else? Mm-hmm. Could it be your personality sucks? Yeah.
But I'm average to below average looking from the neck up. I'm not ugly, but I'm not attractive either. I'm just kind of pick a light-skinned black dude with a beard.
In the black community, they always say light-skinned guys get more girls than dark-skinned guys. The joke used to be when Wesley Snipes was in dark-skinned dudes used to be in. And then when Wesley Snipes went out, when he wasn't in movies anymore, the light-skinned brothers came back. And so you're 6'2", decently in shape, light-skinned it, average looking, and you still have a hard time with women.
Does he have a lot of money? Because at that point, it's almost like, who cares? Do you even have a face? Who cares?
So it has to be something else. Even if you had just a decent money, like you're doing better than 90% of the men as far as just the physical characteristics.
Cannot be nice to women. He probably just cannot be.
You know, he's probably has a personality problem. And he probably has a personality problem with a lot of people.
Or maybe maybe things haven't gone well with him, with women in the past. And now maybe
like
he's
picking
just
19-year-olds at 31, 32.
Yeah, and maybe now he's just like so sore from it that he has like almost like an internal vendetta against women. And maybe he can't like open up and be vulnerable. And he just... I don't know. Like, so, maybe he just kind of like is just really nasty to women.
So here's what I'm gonna say is that for some people that don't know is that this man made a video a couple months ago about how he got fleeced by a 19-year-old when he was 31, 32 years old, and this 19-year-old pretty much took him for everything he had. Do you know what type of self-esteem you have to be fleeced in your 30s by a 19-year-old? Your self-esteem has to be below ground. Yes. He's made some bad decisions with women, and the decisions that he made with women, they're his fault. And the decisions that he made with women were because of his self-esteem. And why he has self-esteem problems, I have no idea why he has, because there can be something serious. But at the same time, it's like, you shouldn't, if you have these type of problems, be online trying to give other men dating advice. I'm just being honest with you, because it seems like, I don't know, it seems like the neurons aren't firing the greatest upstairs. And so, listen, Kevin Samuels was popular for telling people, it's like, listen, you need to go get counseling. And it sounds like this might be one of those situations because, listen, if you're going to keep, shitting on women and then being ugly to women, and then you're going to say it's women's fault because, they want to accept. Listen, you have all the traits. He's 6'2", light-skinned, fairly in good shape, average looking guy. And probably made decent income since he had to bail the chick out of jail when he was in his 30s. What the hell? Like, could you have rolled the dice any better? You know what I'm saying? If that's what you're saying that women like, could you have rolled the dice any better for what you have? And unfortunately, you have a lucky 7, but you're playing it. I don't even play dice. Was a bad roll.
I don't know.
You're playing like you got a bad hand.
I have a high-pitched, nasally voice, and if I'm being honest, I am unlikable to most people who meet me for the first time. That, and I am an impatient hothead.
See, that may be it. That actually may be it.
It's the way he projects himself, though. It sounds like the way he comes off. I mean, I've only heard him once or twice, but he just wants to be heard. But what he's saying is just annoying.
These all created major challenges for me on the dating market, but I overcame them because I worked at it. I practiced, I drilled, and I rehearsed. My game level is much higher than Josh's has ever been because it has to be in order for me to get good results. We can draw the same comparison between Adam and, say, Myron. Okay, Myron's 6'4", but Myron used to be a nerd. He used to play video games. Right? He was terrible with women, as really most of us were. Yeah, he's tall, but sometimes, he looks a little bit lanky. So in order for Myron to get good with girls, he had to learn game too. And the only way to learn game, the only way to really learn it, is through blunt force trauma, getting rejected over and over and over and over again.
The guys that you've seen, do you think that they're necessarily just ugly or butt ugly or terrible looking? I mean, just...
No, I think they're average.
They're average looking. Okay. So let's just say average looking guy. Average looking guys should have average success with women. I would assume. And meaning that you're not going to get, 8s, 9s, 10s most of the time. You're going to get, mostly average women. Mm-hmm. Now, what they're trying to say is that average women are the ones that are being, that Drake is dropping in their DMs and Trey Songz or whoever is flying them out and that they're on these yachts and stuff like that. Listen, they're not average women that are on these yachts. They're, the 8s, 9s, and the 10s that are on these yachts. And that's not like thousands of 8, 9s, and 10s that are on yachts. There's like a select few of these people that are being flown out. And so if you really look at the results that these guys are having and the problems that these guys will have, these are self-inflicted problems. And you may not have the best personality, and you may not have, the best, talkative skills and communication skills, but those are things that can be worked on. And if you have chosen not to work on those things, those are your fault. I mean, that's ultimately your fault, because a lot of these guys were over 6 foot. A lot of these guys were, decent looking, and a lot of these guys were decently in shape, and a lot of these guys were, it sounds like that they made money. They weren't living on the street. It's basically, they weren't homeless like they talk about, well, you wouldn't talk to this guy. What they'll tell women is that you wouldn't talk to this guy if he was homeless. It's like they go from one extreme to the other. Yeah. It's like, well, this guy's super rich, so he can do whatever he wants to. It's like you're trying to get, or you wouldn't talk to this guy if he was homeless. It's like, what about the people in the middle?
Average, yeah.
What about this whole middle gap of people, And so they make up these make-believe scenarios, and there's a lot of make-believe scenarios, and I'll be honest with you, they're almost like the J.K. Rowling of the Manosphere. Who is J.K. Rowling anyway? That name rings a bell.
He's an author.
Oh, Arthur?
Author.
Fiction. He or she? J.K.? Oh. Who wrote Harry Potter?
I don't know. What
I'm saying is that these guys have came up with stories that fit their narrative and fit what they feel inside, and it's honestly, it's a lot of very low self-confidence. We can listen to the rest of this video, but the rest of the video is just going to be him dunking on him and the other guys, saying how they had to work so hard to get good women. And if you really look at these shows and watch these shows, these guys are terrible with women, because they're only dealing with women that's in a controlled atmosphere. But have you ever seen these guys actually out in public with women? These types of communication skills do not work out in public women. And here's the thing, if you guys are trying to follow these communication skills with women, I bet your results suck. Mm-hmm. I think most of the challenges that a lot of guys have is communication. I think a lot of guys have, they act weird. They don't know how to act around women. They build up this big, mountain in their mind before they go try to talk to someone. And by the time they try to talk to someone,
do your voice.
That's fine.
You make me sleepy.
Anyway, and then by the time they try to talk to someone, they built up this big, huge, mountain in their mind. Is that they start stuttering and they're not smooth. They're not, they don't know how to carry on just just a decent and just a lack of, for better words, just a conversation that may not go anywhere. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to expect to get an outcome. Yeah, right. You don't have to expect to get an outcome out of every conversation you have with a woman. Maybe sometimes you need to just talk to a woman just to be talking to a woman, not expecting an outcome.
Right. They try too hard.
Yeah, you're trying too hard. It's like you have desperation written all over you. Yeah. It's basically, and listen, women can read desperation.
The hidden agenda.
Women can read hidden agendas. I have heard people say that guys who are in relationships are more attractive than guys who are not in relationships. And here's my theory on that.
More attractive?
Yeah, to women.
Oh.
And here's my theory on that, because I think it shows a couple of different things. I think it shows, one, if you're in a good relationship, is that you're not out looking for a woman, so you don't show desperation, especially when you're talking to another female, because you're just talking to just somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is it's showing that you actually have the capability of being in a relationship and showing another female that you can be in a committed relationship with another woman and not be thinking about other women, which I think is more attractive to women a lot of times.
For sure.
And so how about, developing the skill of just having conversation with women, not expecting or trying to get something out of women, i.e. sex on the first, second, or third date. And so, just learn to have a conversation, relax, and then you won't look desperate. Then you may start to seem like some of these guys that are in relationships, because they'd be like, he's a little different. He just had a conversation just to have a conversation. I didn't get the vibe that he was trying to get anything out of me.
Yeah.
Maybe he might be in a relationship, and you may not be in a relationship, but you give off the vibe that you are in a relationship. These guys can keep listening to these Manosphere guys, and they can keep going around. And the girls, the women that they end up with, the women that they end up talking to, are honestly, lack of a better word, 304s. I don't want to call them sluts. But the women that actually end up falling for you and talking to you and you end up being able to treat like this are not women that you want to be in long-term relationships with.
As desperate as you.
Pretty much.
I mean, if you allow yourself to get treated like they treat people, then yeah. I mean, what's your self-esteem like?
Yeah, their self-esteem is lower than yours. And so, just because your dating life sucked, because your personality sucked, doesn't mean that you need to spread the rest of that suckiness across the internet.